Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is JD, and who's here with me?
Look, JD, every time that I start the episode and then I ask who's here with me, you never actually respond with your name. So I can go, it's JD, which is our thing because you say JD and I go, it's JD. But if I do it, I say, it's Michelle. And then you go, it's Michelle. It's always Michelle. You don't do it. So I've decided that I'm going to start going on my own tangents instead of answering your question. So I would like to say up front, hi, it's Michelle. Also, we should start this episode with a content warning. There's nothing really in this episode that warrants one, but I am drunk in Vegas and cannot be held accountable for what I may say. So here's your content warning. It is Michelle. Hello.
It is Drunk Michelle.
Drunk Michelle. It's always
Las
Drunk Michelle.
It's Las Vegas Drunk Michelle, even.
It's corporate businesswoman Drunk Michelle. It's the kind of Drunk Michelle where I
Open bar
didn't want to
Drunk
do
Michelle.
this. No, it's worse than open bar. It was a sit down dinner and they just kept refilling the wine without asking. They didn't
What's
say,
wrong with
would you
that?
like more wine? Well, then we get the drunk in Vegas Michelle, and she is a character.
Michelle, you know that just because they put it in front of you doesn't mean you have to drink it, right?
I can't let it go to waste, though. So no, I do
Look,
not.
what's happening right
that.
now is, as long as I'm just gonna be honest here. I mean, you guys know, but as long as Michelle is gonna be drunk for this one, I'm gonna be ripped. So I'm gonna have a couple rips.
That's fair.
Hopefully, it makes this episode interesting.
From where I am sitting, I can see the sphere, and I have decided that the sphere, which I lovingly call the orb because I think that's a better name. I can see it. Like I have the best view of it. Like they say, the best view is from where I am exactly right now, and they're right, and I love it, and I want one. Also, I am very mad that they call it the sphere experience instead of the experience, and I will never forgive them. So,
I don't know.
what were we talking about?
Well, I was just gonna say I can see several spheres from where I'm sitting. So what's the big deal about that one?
It's not the best one. It's not the best one. This one looks like a moon. Right now he looks like a lava lamp. Sometimes he looks like a furry guy who's fairly friendly. Highly recommend the sphere in Vegas. We'll talk about that after I actually get to go see what it's like inside.
Will we?
I haven't done that yet. Yep. I've decided I'm going to. You don't have to be on board. I'll do.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler
How is this spoiler to say going to the sphere? Okay. Hi. We're here to talk about Nightwatch. It's a movie. There's a sequel coming out soon. We didn't just pick a 1994 Danish movie out of nowhere. We might have. That does sound on brand. But we didn't in this particular instance. We watched Nightwatch.
Yeah, we found out that there's this movie coming out in a couple of weeks on Shudder called Nightwatch Demons Are Forever, and then found out it was a sequel. And then we were like, oh, we should do the original, and we put it on the schedule, only to find out it's almost impossible to find the flippin' original. And we both had to stream it illegally. Don't call the cops. It's already too late. The crime has been done. Plus, I don't think it's really all that illegal because it came from Russia. Isn't that how that works? If it's not from your country, I probably shouldn't have admitted that I'm hijacking Danish films through Russian websites. They're going to send the FBI after me or something.
I'm going to ask a question I know the answer to.
Okay.
Did you watch both Nightwatches?
Of course I didn't, Michelle. Why would I watch the 1997 one?
Because I did.
Oh, well, why did you do that? Nobody asked you to.
Because I'm thorough, god damn it. And it was very difficult, but I did both of them. So I watched them both. I got caught.
So Nightwatch is is a Danish film. Stars that fellow
the 1994 one is.
Yeah, that's the one we're talking about, Michelle. We're not talking about the other one.
I'm talking about both. I got both.
Oh wow, this is gonna be a trip.
You're
So
welcome.
it's a Danish film from 1994. It stars that dude from Game of Thrones who was banging his sister. Spoiler alert.
Jamie Lannister, played by Nikolaj Coster-something.
Yeah, that dude from Game of Thrones who was banging his sister. That's what I said.
No, I don't think the actor was. So I just want to clarify in case they're confused.
Well, I mean, considering what goes on in this movie, the guy who was banging his sister might not be the worst thing you could be known as.
It's high up there.
Yeah, but it's not as bad as being known as what the guy in this movie is. And look, guys, okay, we're going to get into the spoiler section here in a little while, but
I'm so sorry if you don't want us to spoil this 30-year-old movie from Denmark.
From Denmark.
I'm very, very sorry. You should probably turn off the episode, but don't, because I need you.
I almost said from Daneland, and that's not a real place.
That would be great.
That's not a real place at all. Anyway, so yeah, Nightwatch, 1994. Ole Bornedal, the director, also directed the 1997 American remake, but it was rewritten by Steven Soderbergh. See, I know a thing or two. I just didn't bother to watch it. Anyway,
wow.
I'm going to give you the summary for this movie from IMDb. It's not on Shudder. You're going to have to... Man, you got to do some work. Apparently, Anchor Bay released it on DVD back in 2001, and so you would think it would be pretty easy to find something of it, but no, not so much. Good luck finding it. We found it. I mean, it's not super hard, but you do need to talk to some Putin people. Anyway,
Putin people.
Right. That's what we call Russians now, right? They're all Putin people, just like we're all Trump dogs. Yeah, that's how it goes.
I'm sure everybody is very happy in this scenario, and there's nobody who's bitter about anything. I don't know. You've been
okay, so anyway, here's the summary.
Here's the thing. I'm wine drunk. It is the worst kind
of... A law student starts
my
working as a night watchman at the Department of Forensic Medicine in Copenhagen.
Oh, there we go.
As the serial killer's victims start piling up at work,
JD.
He becomes a suspect. Yes, Michelle?
You were frozen, and I talked over that whole thing, but you know what? Fuck it. I think that makes it better.
Oh,
I did not see you, so we're good.
I just kept right on talking, so it's going to be just fine.
Yep.
Oh, so that was... Should I go through it again now just to make sure you heard it?
Nah, fuck it. I read it. Here's the thing. Despite being in a bougie-ass hotel, the internet here sucked. So I just need to say that. Also, there's a severe lack of outlets, and I'm really mad about it.
Ridiculous.
Rich people, I guess, don't need electricity.
I was gonna say, I've seen that hotel room. That's ritzy as fuck. There should be more outlets than you could ever possibly use.
I know. I also just looked off randomly and found 2 outlets I didn't know about. So maybe they're just
maybe they're more outlets than drunk Michelle is aware of. Michelle,
sober Michelle didn't find them either. What was that?
Oh, this is gonna be real fun.
It's gonna be something.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, that's for sure. You want to hit us with your spoiler-free thoughts about the 1994 Danish film Nightwatch?
Here's what's really upsetting about this episode. I had very specific thoughts. I put a lot of effort into my notes. I watched both of them, and then I went back and I kind of watched them like side by side a little bit to like compare them because I had thoughts, but I don't remember any of those thoughts anymore. But
Let it be known at this point that I did offer Michelle the opportunity to put off this recording, and she insisted, no, we must do it now.
Yeah, we must continue.
I'm hammered.
Yep. So here's what I do know. It was better than Leprechaun Returns, which got a 3.5. Let's give it a 4.
Wow. That was a hell of a spoiler-free thought,
There's some good
Michelle.
Suspense. I was very suspended. I've never been so suspended in my life. I was on the edge of my seat, and then I was off the seat, and I was like, what's going on?
Are you at all interested in my spoiler-free thoughts, Michelle?
Duh. That's the only reason
So Michelle and I, you guys know, we do this on a video call, and she just gave the most emphatic duh, but she like wound up with her head and neck before she did it, and I thought for sure she was gonna be like, no, why would I care about your spoiler-free thoughts?
No,
but man, like she wound up.
I'm only awake.
Beautiful.
Yep, I'm only awake so that I can hear them.
Oh well, that's pressure. I don't know if I can handle that, Michelle. Please,
nope, they gotta be good.
No, so Nightwatch is this is I think what we would call a little bit more horror adjacent. It's the kind of horror adjacent that Silence of the Lambs is, right? It's crime thriller. It gets a little aggressive at times. It goes into some dark places. Not, and I'm talking thematically here, not plot wise by any means, but it's that kind of a movie. Very psychological, very suspenseful. I thought for sure this was building up to be one thing, and then it turned out to be a completely different thing. And yeah, I'll tell you this much. It was I didn't hate it. It's too long, as everything is. It could be about 20 minutes shorter, and it would have been significantly better. But no, this is a good watch. I would definitely put this at, for me, like a 3.5. Yeah. I don't know
that
if
was better than your Leprechaun Returns score, so that makes sense.
Like, I don't know that I would ever rush out to watch it again, but if somebody was like, hey, I'm a big fan of Silence of the Lambs, I might be like, hey, did you ever see this Danish film Nightwatch?
Wow.
Watch the Danish 1994.
Watch
the
at
Danish
night.
1994, just not the American 1997.
Oh, I have
Because
thoughts
nobody
about
asked you to watch that one, Michelle.
Yeah, but that one was streaming on a place for free.
Well, okay, so before we move on, Michelle, even though I'm not going to talk about it, why don't you also give us your spoiler-free thoughts on American Nightwatch 1997?
It has Ewan McGregor, and that is pretty great. I also really like what happened with Funny Games, where Funny Games, they made it Michael Haneke, whatever. Okay, that guy. He made it once and he went, no, we're going to do it again, but in America. And then he did it again, but in America. And that's exactly what Nightwatch was. But one was in Denmark and one was in America. It's crazy how similar they are, and yet so different. Not really. I also really like Nightwatch 1987, which was exactly like the 94 one, but in a different language, and I'll also give it a 4. Is that what you gave the first one? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So both get a 4.
So wait, oh geez, okay, it's water. For a minute, it looked like it looked like you were just taking a slug off a bottle of vodka. I was like, Jesus
our
Christ,
listeners
Michelle.
don't know. Maybe we mentioned it in this episode. I don't remember, but I'm on a business trip, and I try really hard not to be drunk around my coworkers. Because even when we do like dinner stuff, I just feel awkward doing that. And man, I didn't follow that rule tonight.
I just try really hard to not be around my coworkers in any
I like
condition.
My coworkers. I don't like them when I'm drunk because I'm like, please let me go.
At my day job, I work alone, and that's pretty rad. Anyway, Nightwatch, solid film. If you're into crime thriller stuff with a little bit more of a horror edge, this is the one you're going to want to check out. And we should probably talk spoilers now, huh?
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Here comes the fun part.
No.
Oh, she knows.
No.
She knows.
No.
Hey, Michelle.
Okay, ask me
You want
the
to try
prompt.
to do that thing you do where you summarize the plot for folks like Jenna who haven't watched the movie, which is in this case probably going to be
Sure.
everybody because it's a hard movie to find.
Okay.
Love
Luckily
you,
the
Jenna. You're wonderful.
1997 the 1997 movie is the exact same movie. So you can go watch that one and then just imagine that they're speaking Danish languages.
It's
is
not
that Danish?
the same
Is it
movie.
Dutch?
One of them has the guy from Game of Thrones who banged his sister, and one of them has the guy from Trainspotting who
McGregor.
saw the baby on the ceiling.
Ooh, Trainspotting's a good reference. I would go Moulin Rouge for my favorite Ewan McGregor, but Trainspotting's a very, very good choice.
Anyway, you want to summarize this plot?
I was avoiding it, but okay.
I know.
So
I'm trying to get to it. I want to see how this goes.
Okay, here is Nightwatch summarized. I'm just going to do both of them, and this might not be accurate, so if you're like, that doesn't seem right, I'm just talking about the other movie as far as you're concerned. I'm just doing both of them, and the one that you didn't watch,
But
that
you
fact
just
that I'm
told
telling
us
you,
they're the same movie, Michelle. So why would your summaries be different?
Apparently there are differences that I didn't realize until I gave a breakdown of them. So let's do it.
Fair
Okay.
enough. Do it.
Okay, so Nightwatch, there's this man named Martin, and he decides to work at a dead person place. Not a funeral home, crematorium, no. Anyway, there's dead people, and there's morgue. He works at a morgue as a security guy late at night, and they keep bringing dead people in, and it's very creepy. And he's like, "Whoa, I don't like the dead people," and they're like, "You probably shouldn't work here then," but he does it anyway. And then he's got a friend, and the friend's like, "We're gonna do a thing where we can challenge each other to a thing, and then you gotta do it." And then they're like, okay. And so eventually Martin, he gets challenged to sleep with the prostitute, and then she just like gives, well, okay, here's the difference between the movies. In the 1997, she gives him a hand job under the table at the restaurant, but in the 1994 he gets a blow job. So apparently that's the difference between Denmark and America. If you've ever wondered what's the difference, there it is. It's not just geographical, it's hand
The
jobs and blow
diff- no,
jobs.
the difference between America and Denmark is in Denmark you get blown under the
Yeah, that's all
Oh
I
my!
know
I'm
about
sorry. Please
culture.
continue. I didn't mean to
Yeah.
interrupt and stomp all over you.
Oh, you should probably drink and then you won't be so mad. Okay. So then they do that, and then the lady's like, "Wow, I don't like doing sex work because my roommate was killed by a guy." And they're like, "Whoa, that's crazy." Anyway, and then they continue, and Martin's still at the morgue being a security guy, and he's got a lady and he loves her, but in like a weird way cuz he just got like either filleted or handed at the restaurant depending on which version you're watching. And then um and then the lady, she's like the lady being the sex worker. I know there's a bunch of ladies. Wow, crazy how many they can put in a single film, right? There's so many of them. There's at least four in this one. And it's like the same based on which movie you're watching. Anyway, the hotel I'm in has a food and drink bar where if you pick up an item, it's weight censored, so they charge you for it. And there's a bottle of water in there that's $60. That's crazy. So Martin, he works at a morgue. And then the lady who was a prostitute slash sex worker, I'm so sorry, I know you prefer that term. She starts calling and being like, "Hey, lady who's in love with Ian McGregor and Nikolaj Coster or something, you should make him stop stalking me, please." And then she's like, "Whoa, I know about the sex worker." And then Martin's like, "Whoa, that sucks." But then he keeps working in the morgue. And then the sex worker, she turns up dead. And then his Martin's girlfriend slash fiance, she was there and she saw the dead person. And then the sex worker thought that Martin had a different name. That's the whole thing. We're not gonna circle back and get into it. Just watch the fucking movie. The 1997 was is on Pluto, and if you're like, but I'd like to see the Danish one, then you should just put on the language thingy, the dub, and do it in Danish, and then you're watching the same movie. So then they're like, "Martin, you killed a lady," and he's like, and they're like, "You had sex with this corpse," and he's like, "No way, bro." And then it was the cop. And then the movie, I think that's the end. I think I covered most of it.
Yeah, I think that more or less covers everything.
Yeah, I can't
Uh,
think of a single thing I left out that was very
for yeah,
comprehensive.
for those of you who may have gotten a little lost,
What?
if if Michelle doesn't mind, this dude goes to work in a morgue, and there's this guy
Yeah.
killing people, and at one point they think
Wait, I
it's
should have
him, but
mentioned
it's
him.
not him. Yeah,
I
it's
didn't even mention the serial killer.
yeah, so it's very crime thrillery, some suspenseful stuff. I gotta tell you, Michelle, I really thought this was gonna be like a ghosts or living dead people thing. Like, I really got the
Mm-hmm.
impression early on that they were setting this up to be a more supernatural film. Did you feel that way too?
Uh, no.
You know what I think it was, honestly. She's like, nah, nah.
I really
You
wanted
know,
to think. I didn't want to answer very quickly for the sake of time, and my thought process is a little slowed down right now, so I had to make sure I
I
actually
think
thought about it.
I think here's what did it is the simple fact that the sequel is called Nightwatch Demons Are Forever.
Yes, I
And
agree.
so,
That's a
like,
very that name does not match the feelings of the first movie, and it makes me nervous about what the sequel's going to be.
well, what it tells me is that he's just talking about a completely different kind of. He's talking like metaphor demons, and I thought it was going to be
Ooh.
like literal demons.
Oh, I did not let the name of the
But
sequel
anyway,
influence.
look, let's just cut right to the chase. Man, how lucky is it for Jaime Lannister that he was not the killer in this? Do you think his career could have survived both being a guy who bangs his sister and a guy who bangs corpses? I don't know if he would have. I don't know. That's
Is that
man,
rhetorical?
no, this guy is. I'm just saying, this guy is involved in some stuff where people do some real deviant shit. Sometimes it's him.
You don't think that Jaime Lannister should have been banging Cersei? We're gonna get real controversial on that with opinions that
Oh,
people
jeez.
definitely won't agree with.
You got some hot takes about like
I'm
royal
just speaking
incest,
for the people out there
Michelle?
who are pro Jaime and Cersei. That's all. I just don't want to alienate our audience for those who do feel that way. I'm just
Oh,
being mindful of the people who may have different opinions from us.
yeah. So, honestly, it's hard
Right
to
back into it.
it's hard to. Well, somebody's got to try and steer this ship. I'm not doing a terribly great job
I
because
should
I'm
not
getting
be
no
steering
help.
a ship.
Yeah,
No,
that's what
I
I'm
should not.
saying. Somebody's
Okay,
got to
that's
do it,
fair.
and it's clearly not going to be you. And I'm having anyway.
Why the fuck do we get on a ship? That's a bad idea.
I don't
Okay,
know.
sorry.
That's dumb.
Continue.
This is one that I kind of expected was going to be a little difficult to talk about. There's not a lot of gore. There's a lot of butts. They show a lot of butts.
A whole bunch of butts.
Yeah, I don't know if the implication is just that the guy who's banging the corpses just likes banging corpses from behind, or perhaps he likes banging corpses in behind. I don't know what the implication was. But
I didn't think about it that deeply. I just like butts.
You just
So
you
like,
just
that
like
makes
you just
sense.
like
That's a
butts
butt.
covered. You just like butts covered in blood and semen. Is that your thing, Michelle?
You know what? A butt's a butt. Once you've seen one, you've seen them all, right?
No,
That's not true. There's a lot of
absolutely
different
not.
butts.
There's
I
so
don't know if
many
you've seen the
different butts.
variety.
Oh, there's quite a
so many.
variety of butts. Hey,
Quite a variety.
can we talk for a minute about the both totally unnecessary and also totally repulsive side story about this sex worker named Joyce? Jesus Christ, they just like this guy Jens is just a complete fucking monster. Is like makes her do all like completely exploit and just like sadistic look in his face and like nothing ever like that's just part of that's just who he is. He just treats a hooker like shit, and like meat, like just does awful, terrible things. But nothing ever happens to that guy. There's just like a whole thing. These guys just treat this woman like garbage, and that's just the plot, right? Like there's no resolution to that. Here's how here's the resolution to that. She gets killed, and that's just it. And I just.
But it puts us on Jens's path, and we think that he's the killer. And I absolutely went down that path. I totally believed it.
You could have absolutely done exactly that in 1,000 different ways that did not involve Jens torturing this woman.
We could have done a lot of things a lot of different ways, but here we are.
No, I'm just saying. There's a criticism I have about the movie. I didn't care for that element of it. I feel like if that side plot had just been removed, and they had done this in a little bit more, found another way to do this that wasn't quite so repulsive, this might have been a 5-skull movie for me. But that was the part of the movie that really brought it down for me, because Joyce, frankly, is the most sympathetic character in this movie. Like Martin is definitely not as big a shit as Jens is, but he's still kind of a shit,
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, that was the part of the movie that just, man, it was a little much, for me. But the whole bit with the, the serial killer and the mystery I did think for sure it was Jens, and then it turns out to be the cop, and I was like, no shit. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Just a really well-told crime thriller story that, as it turns out, didn't have anything to do with, like, corpses coming back to life or demons in the morgue or anything like that.
You know what? I would like to change my response. I did feel like it might get paranormal in the beginning because they do a really good job of setting up that morgue.
Yeah.
They definitely give like the creepy vibes where you're like, why are things like this? And then there's not really a reason. They are just like this.
Here's the one thing I do find interesting, though. Like, I could totally understand certain things, but in that one room, it's like he walks through the room and he's got his hands up by his eyes like blinders, right? It's like, I get it, they're corpses, but you can't see them. They're
He's
all
told not to
covered
look
with
at them.
sheets.
He's told not to look at him. He follows rules.
You don't have to like be terrified blinders to not look at them. The guy who showed him around the place didn't do it like that.
Well, maybe he has a different moral compass than both
Also,
of us, and
did
he
you
does not think he should put his eyes upon a naked.
Did you catch what the purpose of those locks were that they were going around turning on a regular basis?
Nope, I watched it twice and I still don't understand, so I missed
Yeah,
something.
and
both
it's
Danish
not even like
and
multiple
English.
locks. It's a lockbox that he's carrying.
Yeah.
And you got to go around. I wonder if it's some sort of like tally thing that keeps track of, like, each key is different and it keeps track of how many times you click the key to make
guarantee
sure
you're not sleeping.
Yeah, to make sure you're going out and doing your rounds. I suppose maybe that's what it is.
It would make
Anyway,
sense. It would be really nice
completely
if
irrelevant.
they told us in Danish or English.
Yeah. Did you watch the version of this where the subtitles got ahead of the speech, so you had to be like reading 2 seconds ahead of what was actually being said?
No, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was a little distracting. Like, it started out fine, but by the end of the movie, like, they would actually say the line, like, literally probably like 3/4 of a second after the subtitle was already on the screen.
Oh.
And it was real confusing for a minute, but once I figured out what was going on, I was able to work my way through it.
Here's a weird thing. I've apparently owned the 1997 Nightwatch for a very long time, to the point where I don't know how I have this movie. I didn't have it with me, so I still had to stream it. It's on Pluto right now. So like I've had this for forever and I've never watched it, and I just owned it. And now I guess I've watched a movie I've owned for an inexplicable amount of time.
Potentially as many as 26 years. I mean, I doubt you bought it when you were like 6 years old. Right, but
yeah.
you never can say for sure. Anything is possible.
I have been listening to a lot of Machine Gun Kelly lately. I know
Why would you do that to yourself?
It's not your favorite. Because I like him. I can't help it. He seems like someone I could fix. So Machine Gun Kelly, I've been listening to him, and he has a bunch of interludes where it's just him recording phone calls to his friends while he's super high. And then he's just like, ha ha ha, I'm so high. And he says a thing. And I feel like that's my half of this podcast right now. And now I'm realizing, like, as much as I dislike those Machine Gun Kelly interludes, I have become a Machine Gun Kelly interlude. And this is just who I am now. I feel like I'll never sober up. I'm just going to be like, hey, what kind of animal would you be if you could be any type of animal? And then we just giggle for a while about it. That's exactly what he sounds like.
Yeah, that's how I giggle.
You listen to Machine Gun Kelly also?
I will stab you for even suggesting such a thing.
Wow. I can't believe Machine Gun Kelly would never stand for that.
Things got really aggressive there for a moment. I'm sorry.
It's so unfortunate that I had a lot of notes and feelings about this. The 1997 one is slightly better because it has Ewan McGregor, who is from Moulin Rouge, but also John C. Reilly. John C. Reilly's in the 1997 one.
Who's that?
I can't tell if you're joking.
John C. who?
John C. Reilly. He's in a bunch of the Will Ferrell movies.
Is that the guy from Scrubs?
No, not even a little bit.
Oh.
He's a comedian. He was in Talladega Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby. He was in Step Brothers. He was in other Will Ferrell films.
Michelle?
He's the guy with the curly hair.
Michelle?
Yeah?
I know who John C. Reilly is.
Okay, thank God. I was really scared because you're really good with knowing people. And then I wondered if I was getting the name wrong because how would you not know a person
The
and
guy
I know
from
that
the
person?
guy from Scrubs is John C. McGinley.
I, I don't know who that one is.
He's
Is that
Doctor. He's
the
the Doctor
the
Dickhead from
angry doctor?
Scrubs. Yeah,
I love Dr. Dickhead. He's my
Doctor
favorite. When I go
Doctor.
into, I'm like, hello, I'd like an appointment with Dr. Dickhead. And they're like,
I mean,
hell no. And I'm like, that's very on
at the
brand.
end of the day, I do prefer Doctor Dickhead to Doctor Dipshit. So you know which one is Doctor Dipshit, right?
No, is that the main guy
Yeah,
who, Zach Braff? Okay,
yeah, it's Doctor
that's fair.
Dipshit.
Well, Nightwatch
Anyway,
is a
I
movie
think we
that I night watched, by the way.
I think we have exhausted. Really, guys, I did
There's
come
not
into
much to
this being
say.
like, no, it's just
Yeah,
solid crime thriller, with some good
it's good.
suspenseful
Both of
moments,
them.
and some really troubling moments of concerning a sex worker. I think I said hooker earlier. I'm sorry, that was not the word I wanted to use. But yeah, it's
I
solid.
said a lot of words I didn't want to use.
I didn't particularly want to use any of them, but here we are.
Exactly.
Right?
I just wanted to sit quietly, but you kept asking me questions and I had to participate. This has been a very
Well,
sobering episode. I feel way more sober than I did a half hour ago trying to talk about dead people and how Ewan McGregor is not having sex with them.
are you sure?
I mean,
I
I
mean,
guess there could
look,
be a serial killer and he's also having
look.
sex with the corpses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is, like
Oh, is this a legit theory?
more than one person could be banging them dead people. Is all I'm saying.
And some people would prefer it that way.
I
Well,
don't have much else to say about the movie. It's cool. Go
I
watch it
don't. It's
if
solid.
spooky.
I know
Yeah.
that we're like fucking around, but it's because I had notes. I have nothing really to add. I'm looking forward to the sequel, even though the name makes me very nervous because it does
Yeah.
not seem to match the
I
feel of the first. And I do like a funny games where they're like, I'm gonna make a movie a second time, but in a different language because it is incredibly similar. If you watch these side by side, which I did when I went back and watched the American one, I kept pausing it and then comparing it to the original Danish one, and it is identical with very small
do
differences.
they show you the whole scene where the cop takes a test tube full of jism and dumps it all over the hooker's bloody butt? Hooker. I said it again. I'm sorry.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, well, then
Where
they're
he
not
says,
the
"Where did
same
that
movie,
semen come
Michelle.
from?" Or yeah. No, here's the thing. There is a difference between the two where one of them does things very explicitly and the other does implied. That thing where he dumps the semen on the hooker's butt. Sorry, now you've got me saying it
I
because I was
know.
copying
I'm
you
the
and
worst.
I
I'm
don't
the
even
worst.
remember the last time I said that word. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
So sex workers
Yeah.
derriere.
Oh
And
no, you can
the
say
that's
ass. That's fine.
no, derriere. I'm a fucking lady. So they don't have that part in the American one, I don't believe. But the American one starts, it opens with the sex worker opening the door to the guy who's about to kill her and she's playing dead and she gets murdered. And that is not how the Danish version opens. So that leads me to believe that old Barnadal thought that that was an improvement and something that he missed when he did the original because they are very similar. So it was very interesting to see what is very explicit and
No,
what is implied.
I do think it is important to note that he was the writer and director of the original, but he only directed the second. Steven Soderbergh wrote the script and made significant changes, and I guess he just went along with the changes in the Soderbergh script. So I don't know if it was necessarily his decision. Maybe that was part of how we're going to make this movie is I get to write it because I want to make some small changes, but who knows.
It is super interesting though. Like I've watched Funny Games, both the original and the American remake,
Yeah, you made me
quite a
watch
few
the
times.
original one time and I was pretty upset about it.
Wow. Okay. Well, moving on from that, I've watched both so many times that I have seen how side by side they are. So I think that's why this is side by side, except for very like, oh, that makes sense for the American version that they changed this dialogue here, that kind of thing, or they changed this song. that the detective is whistling. Like those things make sense, but it was very interesting because when they changed it, it was so apparent.
All right,
Um,
fine,
that
Michelle. You convinced me. I will watch the 1997 remake starring Ewan McGregor.
you're not gonna have a good time. I
I'm
do
also
like that
kidding.
they
I'm not
did
going to
an.
watch the fucking movie.
Oh,
Why
that's
would
unfortunate.
I?
I do like that it's an American remake and they cast a Scottish actor in the lead role. That's called acting. Also, when I went to figure this out, I knew I owned the 1997 with Ewan McGregor, which I had never seen, but I adore Ewan McGregor. If I had to make a list of top actors, he might even be in that list. I've never really seen something I disliked him in. Even Michael Bay's The Island, I love it. Fuck y'all for hating it. I like it. It's fun.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I like it. I just I like Michael Bay, and I'm so sorry for that. But uh, when I went to find this movie because I'm not at home, I'm drunk in Vegas. I had to try to track down like which movie I watch, and I use a site called Just Watch when I want to like quickly locate a movie. And 1994 was not available anywhere, no streaming sites whatsoever. But then I had noticed there was a 1997, and I clicked that, and the images were incredibly similar. So I went, are we maybe watching the 1997 one? And I thought, like, festival releases will sometimes have an inaccurate year. Like, they'll say they came out 2 years earlier, but they're distributed later. So, widely released much later. So, even though we think, oh, that came out this year, it's listed earlier. So, I was like, is that maybe the case? So, I started watching the 1997. I was like, huh. I didn't realize this was Ewan McGregor. Everything made me think that it was the other guy and that this was a completely different movie. Long story short, it was a completely different movie, but a completely the same movie. It only took me a little bit to figure it out, but it was very confusing because even the artwork is similar, and Nikolaj and Ewan McGregor look surprisingly the same, and their acting is very, very similar. Ewan did a really great job of recreating the character that Nikolaj laid out. I think he tried to stay true to that because it is the exact same mannerisms. He did not try to make it a new person. So I don't know. I think like the movies themselves are a 4 out of 5, but I had a really fun time watching one and then the other and seeing how they were similar and different. I thought analyzing them side by side was a really, really fun experiment. So I don't know if I need to see either of them on their own again, but side by side, very, very fun.
Would you ever watch them both at the same time?
Absolutely. I debated doing that, but the problem is that, like I said, the American one starts with a completely different scene that is not in the Danish one. So I would have to figure out where that is and like where do I want to pause. Yeah, I was actually considering that, like time stamping and being like, here's where they're different. But I'm also at a conference and it took me a couple days to get through both of them because then I had to like I got very analytical with the second one. I'm also in a work mindset.
Michelle.
So it took me a couple days.
Michelle.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's in the mirror behind you?
I can't tell if you're fucking with me. Okay. Oh my god, I got so scared. Um, this hotel is so scary because there are a lot of mirrors. In the bathroom, there are 4 mirrors. That's too many mirrors, and I just keep catching glimpses of myself and being sad about it. Because I'm like, that's what I look like. And it's really upsetting.
It's
So
not
then when
what
you
you
were
look
like,
like,
what's in the mirror
Michelle.
behind you? Oh, unfortunately it is. It's
Mirrors
okay.
mirrors
I know.
lie, they exaggerate.
When they don't exaggerate the right things then. But when you were like, what's that in the mirror behind you? I was gonna be like, I just look like that. I'm sorry. You legitimately scared me though, because this
I
hotel
know.
room is so nice and I don't feel comfortable here. And despite this being the bougiest place I have stayed, probably the bougiest place I have slept, even like hotel, house, anything. And I dated a guy who was friends with a millionaire and collected fighter jets as a hobby. This place is better than that guy, like the bedroom that I slept in when we visited his family friend. All that said, I'm not sleeping well here. I'm not comfortable. Where's the sound of the train?
I
Where's
imagine
the potential for death?
I imagine, Michelle, you're not comfortable sleeping there because somewhere in the back of your mind you're like, somebody could have fed a whole lot of people just on the amount of money my boss paid for me to sleep here for a few days. I imagine you're feeling very guilty about the just overwhelming opulence of the not guilty because it's
Oh,
not your fault, but I
yeah.
imagine that's where the
You
discomfort comes from, is just the overwhelming opulence and absurdity of it all.
Okay, a couple things. There's three TVs in here. One of them is in the bathroom. There are several buttons to control the curtains, and I couldn't figure out how to open and close the curtains until I asked a team member who's here and staying in the same hotel how they did it. And it's buttons located like in kind of the central room, and you select which of the curtains you would like to control and what you would like to do with them. So like all of them are open or only the shades are closed, and what dimness do I want? That kind of
Do
thing.
you know how I
Um,
operate the curtains?
you open and close them because I tried that. It didn't work.
With a
You
rod.
have to press the button.
That's so
I know. I looked
dumb.
for a rod. I
I'm
looked
sorry.
for a rod for so long.
Please
Oh
continue.
my God. Okay. Because I'm drunk, I'm going to tell you something. So I am never embarrassed. I don't have shame. I say never, but of course somebody will come back and be like, "Remember the time you peed your pants in first grade?" Yes. I think about it often. It was mortifying. So yes, there are those moments that I do feel shame because I was 6 years old and my teacher told me I couldn't use the bathroom. And so I didn't. And I peed myself and I went home sick because I was too ashamed to tell anybody. And then when my grandma picked me up, I started crying and I told her what happened. She said she'd done it too, and I felt much better. And I don't even think I told my mom. It was one of the most shameful moments of my life. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, so I had a really embarrassing moment last night. So I decided like I'm in this big opulent hotel. I will go take a bath. And so I took a bath and I was like, that's pretty nice. And then I went to drain the bath and I couldn't drain the bath. And I just kept like pulling on the tub stopper for like a long time. And I was twisting it and I was twisting it clockwise and counterclockwise and pulling it. And for a half hour to 45 minutes, I took a couple breaks, but I was trying to drain the bath. And I was convinced like this is a rich person hotel. There's a button that I'm not aware of. Like they're used to the servants being the people who drain the bath. Like I seriously thought that's why it wasn't working. And I called the front desk and I got to a very nice lady named Audrey. And she went, "Hello, Audrey, blah, 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 blah," her whole spiel. And she's like, "How can I help the roller party tonight?" And I was like, "Oh man, that was really nice. She's going to be disappointed by this conversation." So I was like, "Hello, Audrey. I have a question. And unfortunately, it will probably be the dumbest one that you get tonight." And without missing a beat, she went, "I doubt it." And I was like, "Okay, Audrey, I like you. This is gonna be great." So I was like, "Audrey,
Well
so
played,
I have a very
Audrey.
dumb I know, did not miss a beat. I was like, "You're my kind of person." And I explained like I was like, "I have a question. How do I drain the bathtub?" And I explained my saga thus far over like the past 45 minutes to an hour. And she was very kind about it. And she was like, "Well, let me send a maintenance man up." I was like, "Please don't do that because I know the second that you send a maintenance person up here, they're gonna get it drained. I'm gonna feel so dumb. It's gonna be a me problem. I know it's a mean problem. I just want to know, like, do I pull harder and I'm just not doing it enough? Does it have to twist a certain way?" I was like, "I just need to know." And she's like, "Well, okay, because you asked, let me call over there and see if they can tell me how to drain the bathtub." So she puts me on hold. She comes back and she goes, "Well, I'm gonna have to send a maintenance man because unfortunately facilities did not know how the bathtub drains." And I went, "Audrey, this is how I know it's a me problem, because if they don't know, it's because it's the default way." And she's like, "Let me just send a maintenance man. It'll be fine." I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "Also, thank you for being my favorite call of the night." And I was like, "Oh, you're welcome, Audrey." And then I hung up and the guy came up to the hotel room and he walked in and I was very flustered and I was like, "Listen, I know it's a me problem. I know it's not actually clogged or like stuck or something." I was like, I think I'm doing it wrong." And I told him, I was like, "I really hope I'm wrong and that you don't get to drain the bathtub and it is broken because I'm gonna feel dumb." He rolled up his sleeve, he yoinked that thing and it came out in a second. My hand strength is just not enough. And like my face turned bright red and I just put my head in my hands and I apologized profusely. This was 11:30 at night. Because and yeah, so and I didn't want to just leave it till the next day because like it's one thing draining a stranger's bathwater, it's another when it gets cold. that was part of why I called before it was too late. And so I was like, I'm so sorry. It's like, I'm just happy that you were very nice and that was an easy solution. And now I have admitted one of the worst moments of my life to the world. So
Here's what I find hilarious about that
yeah.
is one of the worst moments of your life. I mean,
I mean,
it's embarrassing, sure, but my lord.
here's the thing. I have had really bad moments in my life. I tried to kill myself twice. I've been in
Wow,
fights
that's
that I was not I've been in fights I was not consenting to be a part of.
remind me to
Um
go back and put a content warning on this one. Jesus.
I did. I put a content wording at the beginning, remember?
Whoo.
So I've
was
had
that was a hell
I
of a
don't
Michelle just dropping truth bombs over here.
it's a known thing. It's just a
Woo-hoo.
known thing. I've had a sad life. But the thing is, all of those things I grew from and I became stronger. This is something that serves no purpose. I'm not going to learn from my mistake. I'm not going to become a stronger person. I'm not going to persevere in some way. All I did was inconvenience somebody at the front desk and a maintenance man and give them something to talk about for just a little bit of time during their break. There's no benefit
That's
in this
no, Michelle.
situation.
Frankly, that was probably the highlight of their night. I mean, at your expense for sure, but it was the highlight of their night. And so, in that sense, yes, you made an incredible sacrifice. You allowed yourself to be just completely shamed so that they could have a moment of joy. That's the most
Here's
selfless, wonderful thing.
I am a martyr. You're right. So here's the thing. I think what made it worse was their professionalism. They were so kind. Both Audrey at the front desk, who like deserves a
Well,
raise. She was very nice, and the maintenance man was very nice. But it made it so much worse. Laugh with me about the situation. Don't be cordial. Like tell me, like, oh yeah, this is probably the dumbest thing I'll encounter for a while.
no, Michelle. Here's the thing, though. I get that.
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from on that, but also consider you are at the well. I won't say what hotel you're at, but you and I both know what
The
hotel.
bougiest one you can think of on the Vegas trip.
And
There's two.
it's an-
You'll
it-
be a
it's an
50% chance of being right.
insanely. Like I don't even want to know what
but
the
that
nightly.
makes it worse.
No. This is what I'm saying. Incredibly rich people with the kind of money where they just get burnt out on everything and have to start doing weirder and weirder and weirder shit. Those are the people who are going to be staying there as well. And so frankly, I imagine, oh, she just didn't have the grip strength to pull the plug out of the tub may in fact be the easiest thing they're going to deal with that night.
There was, yeah, now that you put it that way, there was a 50% chance that he would pull out the tub stopper and turn around and I'd be masturbating. Now that I know
Or
I'm at
he'd
this hotel.
or he'd pull the stopper out and like some kind of like weird gunky remnants of some fucked up shit would come dragging out with it.
And I'm like, that's where I put that and I eat it. You're right.
Oh,
now that
gross.
I'm thinking of like where I'm at.
Gross.
I was wearing dinosaur pajama shorts, and I thought that would have been a good signal. Oh my god! So I had taken a bath before all this was going on. I was slowly drying off, but I was still wearing a towel because I was trying to figure out: do I have to get my full body in the bathtub again to really yank on this?
This is the
And I
part where
didn't wanna
Michelle
do
is
it.
trying to seduce our listeners.
I was wearing a bath towel. It was so nice.
What was that voice? Oh my god!
That was my sex
We
voice.
stopped talking
I'm
about
not a parent.
was your
Okay, so
sex
hang on.
voice. I love
After
that we
Audrey
stopped
said
talking
she
about
was-
the movie 20 minutes ago.
No. It's fine. We had nothing to say. It was fine. So after Audrey said she was sending a maintenance person up, the worst part was that I then panicked and went, "What the fuck am I gonna wear?" And I was trying to figure out if I had to put on the outfit I had worn, which was very businessy. or if I should put on my pajamas, which were very pajamas, and what I went with. And I was stressing out about what the fuck do I wear when they get up here. I settled on silk dinosaur pajama shorts and a hoodie. And I went, this will send the message that I'm trying to get across. And then, I don't know if it did, but I spent a very long time fretting. I changed my shirt 3 times, and he didn't even take that long to get up here. I was very spooked. I was trying to figure out if I should wear shoes or not. I opted for not. It was 11:30, and I had just taken a bath. Yeah. I was very stressed out. I didn't want to inconvenience anybody, but I didn't want to leave my water standing there.
You know what
I debated taking a cup and dumping it out in the bathroom sink.
You know what I love about this,
cup.
Michelle?
Yeah.
Here's what I love about this is gonna be the first new episode we drop after the Chicago Horror Film Festival episode, which is currently drawing a whole lot of new ears to our podcast.
Oh no!
And this may well be the first brand new episode they've heard, and they're gonna be like, "Is this the kind of calamity this podcast always becomes?"
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it is. They encountered you at a very professional interviewer level. And now they get this.
It might not be the same intensity that it usually is, but yes, we talk about the movie until eventually it collapses into an attempt to maybe sort out some shit in our lives, and it never works. Sometimes
we call it the therapy part of the episode.
Sometimes we
are there.
Sometimes we got to do the therapy portion right up front. We don't even get to the movie till like 20 minutes in. This time, other way around.
I'm telling everybody, but I do hope it makes somebody feel better about their day that they did not have to call a hotel front desk and send a maintenance person up to yoink up.
I
don't understand.
Legitimately, I know everybody has their own things, but it's such a foreign concept to me that you would be that concerned over what you'll be wearing when the maintenance man shows up. That maintenance man would be lucky if I put clothes on. Whatever.
I've seen those videos online. I didn't want to be one of those.
Oh, God.
Like I said, I'm in a rich person hotel. If I wasn't wearing clothes and I answered the door, he'd be like, not again. Like he would know. Like it was a ruse. So I was debating, like, do I get dressed very quickly? Do I put on makeup? He saw me without makeup, and I'm so sorry to that man for what he had to witness.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Michelle, you're so mean to yourself. Stop it.
But it's so much better if I laugh at myself instead of admitting what I've become.
We laugh so we don't cry.
Yeah, but sometimes I still
Sometimes we still cry. Oh, Lord.
Hey,
okay.
On the plus side, I sobered up and I have a very important business breakfast at I don't remember what time they emailed me, so
breakfast
thank God
time.
for that. Yeah, I think 8 a.m. Breakfast goes from 7 to 9, and there's a whole story. And if the story, there's a celebrity here, and I'm going to try to stalk him on behalf of a friend of mine.
Which celebrity is it?
I have to do it. Dan Levy.
Who?
Eugene Levy's son. He starred in Schitt's Creek.
You just said
you
a
know
whole
Schitt's Creek, right?
No.
Oh, okay. It was a Netflix show that was a phenomenon.
Okay.
And Eugene Levy's son, Dan Levy. Anyway, he's here. And on behalf of a friend, I'm going to be like, listen, I don't like to bother celebrities, and I'm so sorry, but can I get an autograph for my friend? She will lose her fucking mind. So even though I'm at this gigantic businessy convention, I have to figure out a way to very professionally ask if I can get his autograph.
No,
and
I mean,
I've got to hook up, and
you gotta ask for the autograph, but you also have to ask if you can take a selfie with him, and then you have a selfie with him, and she doesn't.
but then I have to look at myself in the picture. Are you not seeing a theme?
Michelle,
Then I have to see it and be like, oh.
Michelle, I this is great, but it's coming up on 2 o'clock in the morning here back in Fargo. I just realized.
I know.
Holy
I
cow.
was drunk at a business dinner, and I'm sorry.
And it's
Okay.
only midnight where you are.
Yeah, so right after this, you want to go record that Darren Aronofsky's Mother, even though you haven't watched it?
No.
We should not do that. Please don't make me.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
no,
I'm gonna watch. Michelle, in revenge for my Toxic Avenger blunder, said for
was
Mother's
my
Day, you're gonna have to watch Darren Aronofsky's Mother, which we've talked about previously. That she made me watch it, not that we've talked about the movie. But not only does my penance consist of having to watch Mother again, today I found out I have to pay for it because it's not on any of the free streaming places. And I God damn it, Michelle. Why
you have to support Darren Aronofsky financially.
Well, it only to the tune of $1.29 because I got a $3 bonus or something on Amazon Prime. But
you don't want to know what I'm doing in order to financially support him by going to the Sphere. It's an exorbitant amount.
That sentence went places I was not expecting it to go because it started out like it was going to go real weird real fast.
I don't know at what point it changed, but okay. I can imagine when I listen back, I'll be like, oh, yeah, that's that content warning.
Michelle, what are we talking about next week?
Mother.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Wait, we're not doing
Sunday.
Isn't that a Mother's Day special?
Yeah, that's Sunday.
Yeah, but I asked you what we're talking about next week, like next Friday.
Sunday is next week.
Yeah,
the weekend's on Saturday.
What are we talking about after Mother, Michelle?
Nightwatch Demons Are Forever.
That's not right away next week.
Yeah, it's 5/18.
Is it? Wow, this episode just suddenly got really tedious and boring. It doesn't matter.
You know what?
Look
Here's
at
what
the
I can
schedule.
say. If you're actually curious what we're putting out next, you can check out the social medias and the website.
Yeah,
don't listen to me. My blood alcohol level is 100%.
I don't know why I keep asking anyway. Drive them to the social medias. Hey, guys, before we wrap it up,
to the socials.
if you haven't yet, please take time to go back and listen to the episode with the interviews from the Chicago Horror Film Festival. I got to talk to 19 different filmmakers from 12 different projects, all of them just small, super passionate indie horror films. All of them that I've been able to see so far are fantastic, and we want to try to support those guys all as much as we possibly can. So if you can go back and check that out, follow some Instagrams, follow some YouTube pages, that would be super cool.
Everything he said. Anyway. I have nothing else to add. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm sorry or you're welcome.
Oh,
it
yeah.
depends on how you feel about it.
Whichever one is appropriate for you. I'm sorry or you're welcome.
Yep. Just whichever you're feeling. If you're like, wow, I feel much better about my day because I did not have to have a maintenance person come up in order to yoink out a tub stopper, then you're welcome. But if you're like, wow, this was a waste of an hour and I'm never tuning in again, I'm sorry.
I'm not.
Just depends.
If you feel
this, good.
First of all, if you feel like this was a waste of an hour, you could have turned it off 25 minutes ago and you wouldn't have missed anything.
Say that. But they might be a completionist like I am. I have finished so many podcast episodes that I was not enjoying.
Well, that's on you.
I know. Everything is.
You know what else is on you?
Sleeping.
Say goodnight, Michelle.
Oh, no, I'm yawning. Hang on. It was terribly typed. Prompt me again. That was awful. We don't edit in case you can't tell. Okay. Say goodnight, Michelle. Good night, Michelle. Is that good?
Yep.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. Good night. Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at We Watch Shudder on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@wewatchshudder.com is the address. mail@wewatchshudder.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media.